Welcome back to GCCW, Sharing COVID-19 Response Technologies for Global Cooperation. Allow me to introduce the final panel's discussion of the agenda for today on Korea's COVID-19 quarantine solutions, and welcome the moderator leading this exchange, Professor Byung-Hwan Hyun from Daejeon University. Thank you very much, Professor. Please help us introducing the panel members.
예, 안녕하십니까. 대전대 현병환 교수입니다. 반갑습니다. 지금부터 한국 코비드-19 K 방역 솔루션에 대한 패널 토론을 하도록 하겠습니다. 그러면 네 분 연자에 대해서 소개 말씀을 드리고 각 연자마다 한 5분씩 발표를 하시고 나중에 종합 토론을 하는 걸로 하겠습니다. 잘 아시겠지만은 한국은 1992년에 제1차 국가 생명의료선 기본계획을 수립해서 그 이후로 정부에서 강력한 바이오헬스의 주도를 얻기 위한 노력을 해왔습니다. 그래서 바이오헬스를
After that, we had the phase 2 and phase 3 plan for the bioengineering, and it actually got combined with the IT, and we had a very good success. We have more than 60 companies that are committed to the diagnostic tools and testing kits, and also the vaccine development. We are very much proud of the K quarantine, and of course this also requires the collaboration with the other countries. First, I would like to invite Lee Joo-sil for the presentation first.
Thank you for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Joo-sil Lee, head officers of the GFID, Government-Wide R&D Fund for Infectious Diseases Research. And today, I'd like to talk about what we do at the GFID and concerning COVID-19, how the research results that we are producing is being used will be talked about. So, some years ago, actually, Korea underwent the MERS, and as a result, realized that just one particular ministry's effort alone cannot resolve the problems of infectious disease. And also at the same time, what we realize is that cooperation between different governments and different bodies is so crucial. So based on that experience, we pursued the strategy to pursue the technology for crisis response to infectious diseases. So we established the strategies for the period from 2017 to 2021, and also we decided to select a pan-governmental project related to quarantine. So a pan-governmental committee was formed to develop detailed plans for implementing R&D in relation to quarantine. So as a result, the GFID, the government-wide R&D Fund for Infectious Diseases was created, and the fund is created based on the investment by 7 government bodies or agencies. So the GFID is working on 3 major areas. First is about blocking entry of viruses, and the second one is on-site response, and the third one is the prevent transmission. So we are working on running the practical results centered research projects. As you're well aware, from the early days of responding to COVID-19, we conducted testing in a fast and extensive manner, and also we identified the traces of contacts and traces of confirmed cases and close contacts. And also we applied the 3T systems, and also we emphasized the hand washing and personal hygiene practices, and all these were incorporated into the national policy. And through the experience of COVID-19, and GFID began to work on running research projects that can have fruitful results, and research results are being shared to relevant parties, including government agencies and ministries. So, for example, around the early March, all of a sudden the number of COVID-19 confirmed cases in Daegu area soared. So one of the projects that we ran was crucial to resolving the issues caused in Daegu, and we were able to identify important information, and we delivered that information to the quarantine authorities. And we identified several issues to be dealt with, and we had discussions regarding how to resolve those issues. And there are symptomatic patients and asymptomatic patients, and we raised the need to treat those patients respectively. And also we were involved in the discussion to how to categorize the different symptoms of different patients with different symptoms. And also we shared information and data related to the treatment method to hospitals and the health-related facilities and institutions. And the social distancing policy was adopted by the nation, and also we looked at the impact of non-pharmacological measures taken by the government. And for the spread of COVID-19, we calculated the RT values, and these RT values were provided to quarantine authorities. And the need for these measures, including the social distancing, was promoted to the media by us. And SARS-CoV-2 related diagnostic kits were researched and developed, and also we are working on making better masks. And now we are in consultation with KFDA to get an approval for these. An AI-based decision-making process needs to be supported, and to make this happen, also we are working on research. So in the future, if we materialize these technologies will be actively used for quarantine measures, I believe. So the cooperation and collaboration between different government agencies and ministries is so crucial, as I mentioned, in the process of implementing projects in the middle and of conducting researches, and we always have discussion sessions with KFDA. Thank you for your attention. So I'd like to move on to the next panelist. Mr. Yu.
Very nice to meet you. My name is Yu Chung-min from the Korea Research Institute of the Bioscience and Biotechnology. The institute that I am working for is actually a government-funded research institute, and then this means that we need to cope with the response against the pandemics. I think maybe we are the only institute that was designated for this pandemic as a bioscience and biotechnology institute. So this means that we must meet the need and the requirement, and we need to have a more scientific approach given the nature of our institute. And the vaccine development and the test kit are extremely important. So again, from the government perspective, of course we need to be beneficial, and we need to provide some support So we actually set up the task force team within the institute, and for the diagnosis, we also work together with the Bio-Nano Research Institute and also Bio-Nano Health Guard Research Institute, so that we can develop the rapid diagnostic technology by using the molecular testing as well as antibody testing. So we actually provide a lot of support. And the second point I'd like to mention is that regarding the vaccine development. Within the institute, we of course participated in the vaccine development ourselves within the institute. But at the same time, we also need to provide some basic the tools on how to confirm the efficacy of the vaccine, especially in the initial stage. So we have some expertise, and we have a BSL-3 cell, and of course this is the facility which can accommodate that testing. So we actually opened it, and from the early stage of the cell testing as well as animal model testing, we actually developed the models. So of course we had a series of activities, but one thing we like to highlight is the primate model. We actually developed by using the monkeys or the primate model, because it really takes a long time. And of course, this requires time and sweat and effort of the researchers. However, we could come up with the development of the primate model within a very short period of time, so that the companies can utilize the testing, so they could actually test the candidate material before they go into the clinical trial. So I think we are the fourth institute who actually made a success in developing the primate the models. I know WHO actually came up with the blue map, or and you must have, it's a kind of mandatory. The guideline says it is mandatory to have the primate model, and we could successfully develop this model against the primate. So this means that we could actually serve as a kind of launching pad for the Korean companies to expand and then move to other the markets. So we had the concerted effort by the academia and the industry as well as the research institute, and we take a very great pride in it, in the collaboration as well as the outcome of that development. I believe that, especially for the current time, with these tools available, we can relatively easily overcome the crisis. Thank you.
And next, I'd like to invite from the business industry. I'm sorry, and I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Piljae Mang, the professor of Chungnam National University, as well as the chairman of the Bio Healthcare Association. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Piljae Mang. Today, I'd like to talk about international scientific business belts. And inside the business belt, there are biohealthcare related companies. So I'd like to take some examples of those companies, because they are shining through despite the difficulties of COVID-19. As you are well aware, the Daejeon is located at the center of the Republic of Korea, and Daejeon is near Sejong City, the city of Sejong. And inside Daejeon, there is International Science Belt, Business Belt, ISBB, and also we have Daedok Innopolis. So the Daejeon is the hub in terms of science technologies for Korea. We have biotechnology-related the institutes, and we have the engineering-related institutes and the TEDA communities. So incubation facilities and institutes are located here in Daejeon. And so there is a series of research institutes related to Daejeon ecosystem. And so the research institutes that used to be in Daejeon, sometimes they are relocated to Seoul metropolitan area or the other areas, spreading the power of science technology. And International Science Business Belt is being established in a solid manner in Daejeon, and we have Dungok and Shindong districts, and that is called the SD Valley of Korea. And the Daejeon is the hub of science technology. So I want to briefly introduce to you the BioHealth Association. Among the members of the association, there are 15 companies listed, and altogether there are 60 members, 60 bio companies in the association. So the market total value of these companies is 15 trillion won. Many of the biohealth care companies are actively engaging in many development activities. Regochem and the Gen and Bioneer, and there are many listed companies as members of the association. And also there are other companies not listed yet, but most of them are likely to be listed within 2 to 3 years. So please pay attention to these companies, and you can look for opportunities of cooperation. Under the COVID-19 pandemic situation, Suzentech and Silicon Lab and the names you can see on the screen, and they are very actively engaging in global exportations. For example, one of the companies that we have in Korea, they are exporting to Colombia and Saudi Arabia and many other countries. So turnkey-based, RT-PCR-based diagnostic kits are being exported by them to many overseas markets. And this is the case of Suzentech. Antibody-based diagnostic kits were developed by the company, and Suzentech is now exporting their products to Italy and many other countries around the world. Suzentech has antibody-based kits, and they are doing the collaboration with Y-Bio that is located in Daejeon for that development. And a few days ago, the Suzentech received emergency use authorizations from the US FDA regarding their antibody kits. And the Surgeon is another example, which are producing diagnostics kits, and also they are exporting their products to many countries. And they received the emergency use authorization from the United States. And the Sozent is in collaboration with the World Octa and many very well renowned company. And the Season Bio as well, they received the emergency use authorizations from the US FDA. So they are producing rapid diagnostic kits. These companies are not the only companies which are showing good performance. For example, this is a case of Genomic3. The Genomic3, they has produced the medium for transporting samplings for multi-purposes. So they developed this specific medium so that there is no harm in the process of transporting samples to the destinations. And this is about XenoFocus. They developed protease K, which is the essential enzyme for COVID-19 diagnostic kits. So far, I shared some examples related to diagnostic kits, but I'd like to talk about anti-COVID-19 activities in 대덕 community. Also, because there at the same time, we have many companies working on the development of therapeutics. So 15 companies gathered together and they formed the initiative that is called COVID-19 Cure Initiative, COVID. So for the development of therapeutics against COVID-19, they decided to share the knowledge and they decided to collaborate with each other. And the SAVI, the New Virus Convergence Research Group, provided technology transfer to companies such as LegoChem, and based on the technology transfer, the LegoChem and other companies are working on developing therapeutics. And also they are about to enter clinical trials. And also the LegoChem Bio has signed an MOU with Ushi MTech with the necessary technology. This is about the Genexine and Y-Biologics. Y-Biologics is located in Daedok area, and the Genexine is located in the Seoul metropolitan area. And this is about signing an agreement between the two companies for co-development and xenofocus. Is working on developing therapeutics using microbiome. As shown so far, there are many biohealth-related companies in Daedok area. So in order to respond properly to COVID-19, those companies are collaborating and making a lot of efforts to come up with the therapeutics against COVID-19. So that was the summary of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. So I'd like to invite next speaker, Mr. Tae-sik Lee from ETRI.
Good afternoon. My name is Lee Tae-sik from the ETRI. I would like to talk about especially in vitro diagnostic test and then and at the same time, I also like to highlight the importance of the ICT technology. As you can see from this slide, the ICT technology has this kind of share, and you see about 42% of the growth here. And this is in people who live longer, so we see the longer extended longevity. I know that the people could live only about the 19 years before, but now people live longer, and this means that people also encounter a lot of different diseases. So before, people only thought about curing the disease, but now they move ahead and then try to prevent the disease. Now we have the pandemic of the COVID-19, and with this outbreak, I think the market of in vitro diagnosis is growing bigger and bigger. I prepared this pie chart and as well as a graph, and there you see the market shares for technologies and also market shares for the companies. You see the growing presence of these biomedical devices. And you also see the companies the market shares per the companies. I think you must be very much familiar with the world-renowned companies like Johnson & Johnson or the Roche. And in case of the Roche, of course, it's a bio company, but in case of Siemens, it's originally started as an IT company. And we also have IT company like Samsung, and I think definitely there's a chance for Samsung to join this market. Of course, we have to admit that we have relatively very poor market condition for the biomedical devices. But again, we have ICT companies such as Siemens as well as GE, and they are waging a very fierce competition. So I believe we definitely need more demand for the ICT, where the Korean companies also join and then become the players. I wanted to create a kind of success story So that's why I prepared this slide. So this is the goal, and this is basically technology development, and we want to have a structure, so we call it systemization. We have been doing for a decade, and we have done a lot of different projects, and we also developed the different devices. So we had more than 10 technology transfer, including I think it was 2011, when we worked together with the Sysantec. So we were very much encouraged with this success story. At that time, it was still in the initial stage, so we have half doubt and half a conviction. In 2015, we also had a chance to work with the President Seo. So we also had the technology transfer. So they maybe within 5 years, I think it was January of 2020. So I think the Korean people mentality is quick. So the Sysantec also immediately joined this march. Actually, they had a gathering at the Seoul station, and I think they actually summoned, or they tried to invite all the related people to the Seoul station to give a kind of alerting message on the pandemic. I think in some sense the Korean people's mentality of the quick made some positive impact. Well, of course, President Trump of the United States mentioned about the testing kit. And I had some doubt at first, but we actually made it, and we actually developed a number of devices. But of course, there are some trial and error. I think there are more items that we can, which can be commercialized in the market. So I think we are still in the starting point. I believe there will be increasing number of the companies who would have more presence in this industry. I do hope that we also have a dominant share in the global market. So this shows how we actually could make it. Well, again, we work together with the Sysantec, and we also work with the gene system. In case of the Sysantec, where they had the immune system testing kit, and they used the antibody testing kit, and I think they also got the approval from the US FDA. So maybe it's a really unprecedented case. Well, of course, after the pandemic, I think Sysantec maybe is first of its kind which get the approval of the United States, especially FDA. When we have a second wave in the autumn, I think we can better respond to the situation. Of course, we have influenza, and what would happen if we have a COVID-19 together with influenza? There will be some aggravating situation. So they also came up with the development of another test. I think it was in 2019, they actually listed in the Kosdaq, the Korean stock market. In 2020, they had investment about 500 million. But at that time, the revenue is only about the 500 million, even though they had a huge investment. But they could enjoy handsome profit as much as 2.5 billion. Well, they already know that the COVID-19 will not persist. Maybe it will stay for about maximum 2 years. So they will also combine the ICT technology into their own expertise. And even in, I think it was in 2015, they, up until last year, they recorded the deficit because they had a lot of investment at first for the equipment as well as the facility. But I know that especially in the first half of this year, they recorded 7.5 billion profit thanks to this testing kit. I think next year, in 2021, they will also develop the new kit which can test the influenza and the COVID-19 together simultaneously. So again, I'd like to emphasize again that this is just a starting point where this technology or the biomedical device industry is integrated with the ICT. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. We just had a presentation, and the title is the K-quarantine solution. Well, as you know, the government took a lead in developing the kit or introducing the kit, and of course, we also see the combination with the ICT, which led to a more successful case. Let me ask some questions to one or two presenters here today. First, so my first question goes to the 이주실.
And you are running the GFID, the government-wide R&D fund for infectious diseases, and you said that actually 7 government ministries invested in this fund. And this kind of concept may be unfamiliar in case of the other countries, because the 7 governmental agencies gather together and they are putting the investment in for the fund. So how did it happen? And could you please explain the backgrounds? Yes, 7 government ministries, they gather together, they raise the fund together, and actually that fund is managed by one institutions, and the projects run based on the budget is operated by us, GFID, and this could be, I believe, that the only example with this kind of model. And in the process of getting approvals for budgets, we have discussions with representatives of 7 government ministries, and we share the plan for future projects, and also we share the results of research projects that we ran with the 7 government ministries. And concerning COVID-19, there were many projects going on. So the GFID also will have a discussion together with the relevant people regarding how to overcome and tackle COVID-19 pandemic situation. And so how global cooperations will be made further by the GFID hasn't been discussed deeply yet. But I do believe that, and once we run the research projects in a good manner, and if we have a good mature results, in the future we will be able to do more global cooperation, I believe. Yeah, thank you, and I look forward to having good results from the GFID. So I'd like to ask questions to Mr. Liu.
Well, you mentioned about the test kit, and what is the gap between the Korean level versus the global level? So what are the things that we do very well, and then maybe export to other market? But of course, I'm not the expert, but my observation in the past 7 months is that we are really great in terms of the testing kit. So what is left here is the treatment and the vaccine. As you know, it will take maybe 10 to 15 years, and we also need to have at least $1 billion for the fund for the vaccine development. But we also need to admit that we have not had any experience of the vaccine development against the pandemic. So this means that we have a time issue as well as the fund issue. Well, in order to speed up, Of course, I know that a lot of companies are already making strenuous effort at this stage, but looking back, the reflection that I have is that especially in terms of the vaccine, the R&D need to have additional support, especially for the phase 1 and phase 2 study, because before we got the support only in the IND level, especially that's the approach that Ministry of Science and ICT had before. So now is the time where they need to change, they need to have a paradigm shift. So we need to expedite, because definitely we need to have a platform for the vaccine. And at the same time, we also need to secure the safety and efficacy in order to have the drug repurposing. So in the future, maybe we need to streamline the R&D activities. So this means that at least government should provide the fund for the phase 1 and phase 2 of the clinical trial, or they also can diversify the platforms. So this definitely requires a paradigm shift. Okay, thank you very much. Now I'd like to direct discussion to Meng Pilje.
So biohealth companies in TEDx area have been actually created and also established based on a self-reliance manner or self-reliance, self-independent manners. And the companies are being well operated and they are up and running in a good manner. So they formed clusters on their own. So what drove them to create that kind of clusters? What was the motivation for them, and what insights can we get from this? I think it's kind of early to say that those companies have succeeded, but it is true that all of the biohealth companies in the TEDx area, they are really working hard, and the biohealth care companies that belong to the Biohealth Association, they, especially the CEOs of those companies, they have experienced representative bioclusters like in those in Boston and Silicon and European countries. So they have experienced the clusters and innovation from other countries. And what they have realized is that the biohealth related companies need to be in one place, so learning from each other. So that process would reduce the experience of making errors and trials, and that would contribute to reducing costs. And that was their view based on their experience of other clusters in other countries. Of course, some people are saying that under the COVID-19 pandemic, everybody should be split, everybody should be separate. However, biohealth companies, they have a different mindset. They learned the way of living for themselves. Being together is one of the way for their survival. So that kind of culture of being together has taken root. And the TEDx, the Innopolis, or the research complex, has produced many results of their basic research. However, it's not long since they began to produce those results. And the TEDx research complex went through the long period of incubation, I would say, and it is time now for them to gain from their effort that has been made so far. And my request for the public entities or agencies for the biohealth companies is that I hope that the public government agencies or the government can contribute to creating the desirable infrastructures for biohealth companies. So the Shindong and Tunggok district is being created, a cluster is being created. I think it would be great if the government or public ministries give full support for the good creation of the valley. And also, I hope that there could be assistance for overseas marketing.
다음은 우리 이대식 교수님 박사님한테
Thank you very much. And my question goes to Mr. Tae-sik Lee.
Yes, you mentioned about the combination of the ICT and the bio industry, and you also mentioned that you have very successful case. Well, in fact, the interdisciplinary exchange is not always very easy. So I know that it's very much challenging. So especially this kind of integration must be very difficult. So how did you manage it? And what are the ways to activate or reinvigorate that combination of the collaboration? Well, first of all, well, the invention is the mother of the necessity. So we came up with that because we needed it. Well, I have a background in the bioscience, so I have been in this industry, in this field for more than 20 years. So I came to learn little by little, even though I'm not 100% expert. So first, you use the semiconductor, and then you also can use the nanotechnology if you can move on. Thank you very much. We had the 4 presenters from the very well-renowned representative institute, and we had a discussion on the solution for the K-quarantine. I think it's a very useful session. So I'd like to wrap up this session, and then I'd like to pass this microphone to the MC.
Thank you, distinguished panel members and Professor Hyun, for all your insights. Kindly just join the guests to the floor. So, as follows, a section on K-quarantine solutions from industry will be led again by Professor Hyun. However, this time, after listening to each presentation, we're going to be opening a Q&A session. For this, our KCCC team has prepared a team that is wrapping up questions that are coming through the online channels. And for the sake of time, the moderators will be choosing some of these questions and asking them to the presenters. Professor Hyun? You may now start the panel. Let me give some time for the panel members to join the stage.
다시 한번 인사드리겠습니다.
Good afternoon once again. And this session is about K-quarantine solutions from industry. So we have invited 4 speakers related to Korean industry. And this will be the venue for them to share their experience regarding K-quarantine solutions. And first of all, the first speaker is David Friedman from GCCW. And he is the head of the international business of GCCW. And the presentation time is 10 minutes. And also we'll cover questions during the panel discussions. So Mr. Friedman, please.
Excuse me? Okay. All right. First, I want to say thank you to KAIST and the GCC and all of you for providing us with this awesome opportunity today. It's my pleasure to be here. My name is David Friedman. I'm the head of international business at GCCW, and I'm here to talk to you about COVID-19 testing, new normal. So what basically it means to be able to conduct testing safely and comfortably as we kind of adjust to this new normal of living with the coronavirus. I know people earlier today kind of presented about different kind of diagnostic kits and different kind of new technologies that are being developed. But to be able to kind of use those tests effectively, we need to be able to provide medical staff, technicians, doctors, and nurses with a safe environment for them to be able to conduct those tests. And so that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Some of you might have heard about the walk-through booths that were first invented here in Korea. You can kind of see them not only here in Korea, but in other parts of the world. I'm going to talk to you about how we at GCCW have innovated on it and what we've kind of done to prepare for living in this new normal. So before I get started, I want to say that the walking through testing booth is not just a Korean phenomenon anymore. I think that we really owe Korea, and I'm really proud to be living and working in Korea during this time when the Korean government and the Korean people have had such an amazing response to the coronavirus pandemic. But these testing booths have not just it's not just something that has popped up here and there. It's not just a fad. These booths are all over the world right now. And so actually, one thing that I'm really proud to announce is that GCCW, working together with KOICA, has been able to make a over $1 million contribution to help support developing countries in Central and South America, Asia, Africa, and Central and South America to be able to respond more effectively, more safely to the coronavirus pandemic. And not only that, but actually, through direct sales ourselves, we've also seen booths being used in Southeast Asia and the United States as well. And so this isn't something, it's not just us either. Other companies, other Korean companies, other foreign companies are using these booth solutions as well. And so this is a real, it's a viable solution. It's something I'm proud to talk to you about today. So what makes GCCW's smart testing booth different? Well, the idea is there's kind of three main things I want to touch upon. The first being that the smart testing booth was designed to be used long term. So you see out in the market right now, in the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic, different hospitals, somebody might have had some engineering experience, they're working on their own, and they kind of figured out how to make these kind of like a single kind of booth. But that's not a long-term solution. That's something that worked right in the moment. And so, as we kind of adjust again to living with coronavirus on a day-to-day basis, we need to be able to provide something that isn't going to be viable for just a couple uses. It needs to be something that's viable long-term. The next thing I want to mention is that, we need to be able to provide safety. And I talk about safety for two reasons. One is that we actually need to keep people safe. That seems pretty obvious, but it's important to kind of mention it. The second part of this safety equation is that these medical professionals need to feel safe as well. I don't think that it's talked about enough in the news or the media, but having to be in contact with potentially infected coronavirus patients day after day, having to wear this full PPE that's extremely hot and uncomfortable, having to go through all these different kind of sanitary procedures and sanitization procedures, that's an extremely difficult situation that these people are being put under. And they have to go to work every day. I like to contrast that with what I'm doing at work, which is, I'm sitting in a nice office when I go into work, or when I work from home, I'm able to stay home. So I'm in a completely safe environment, but our medical professionals are not. And it takes an extreme mental toll. And so one thing that the booth really can provide is that peace of mind. The other thing is that, we want people to be comfortable. So again, talk about right now, today. It was an extremely hot day today. We've just gone through what was a really hot, humid summer. If we're talking about globally in tropical and other temperate climates, these are people that have to wear full PPE in 35-degree plus temperatures. And I actually wore some PPE just like when we were building the booths to kind of get into the user experience. And after 15 minutes of being in an air-conditioned room, I was drenched in sweat. And we're expecting these medical operators to be in that kind of environment all day. And so we at GCCW thought, that's not acceptable. And so by implementing this air conditioning and heating system, coupled with our positive pressure system that buffers and creates this safe environment for people to work inside the booth, that means that you don't need to wear the full kind of PPE. You don't need to wear the face shield. You don't need to wear the boots, the pants, the full body coverings. And so that provides a much more pleasant experience. The other thing, I mentioned this earlier briefly, but these forecasts are predicted to, repeatedly occur. People, I remember in the beginning, people talk about, well, let's just wait till summer, maybe it'll burn off in summer, or, whatever. But what we've kind of learned, and we've kind of learned this here in Korea over the past couple of weeks, is that, no matter how good of a job that you do, coronavirus just isn't going away in the short term. And so we want to be able to, again, provide these medical professionals who have to be out there every day, encountering potentially infected people every day. We need to provide them with a comfortable, convenient work environment. And so, what that means is that not only do we provide them with an ergonomic design, but we also, from the ground up, made sure that all of the features were designed with the medical staff thought of first. I mentioned earlier about working in, a nice office. I have like a beautiful desk, a nice, comfortable, ergonomic chair that I sit in. And so when I come to work, I can really feel pride in what I do. Again, I talk about this psychological aspect of work. And our medical professionals, people don't think about this, but they want to have pride in what they do, and they want to feel comfortable in what they do too. And so to be able to provide them with a really beautiful piece of equipment, I don't think that's just like aesthetic benefits provide a really strong psychological benefit as well. And so that's something that we've really worked hard to add as well. It's not just a box that you're working in. It's a really comfortable, pleasant work environment. It provides a positive experience to people who work in it. Lastly, before I close, I want to talk about the other part of this smart testing booth that we've developed is that it's an integrated solution. And so, really, again, I mentioned it briefly earlier, but we have all of these companies that are coming up with these really awesome innovations, whether it's the diagnostic kits, the new ways to take temperatures, and everything in between. And so what the booth is it fits in with that. It's something that, again, to be able to take these tests effectively, or again, if you want to be able to take somebody's temperature safely, being able to do that within the booth environment, again, it all works together. And so it's what we call an integrated solution. And so something that we're really excited about is not just, selling our own booths, but being able to package that as a full kind of total coronavirus solution with other products that are being sold. Because, to be able to to conduct coronavirus testing, you need the diagnostic kits, but we also need to provide them with a safe environment to conduct those tests as well. And so, lastly, when we've built this, we really thought about, again, making sure that it works internationally. And so from the ground up, again, we made sure that, no matter what market you're in, no matter what kind of power supply you use, or whether you have, when we worked with Koika on this big ODA project, whether you have, frequent power outages or other kind of problems like that, we made sure that every step of the way to build in safeguards and other kind of adaptability and modifiability to our booths to be able to provide that experience. And so that's something that's happening right now. Our booths are being used in extremely hot climates. They're also being sent to extremely cold climates, and we're excited to see what happens when we reach the winter. The last thing I want to talk about is that, embracing this kind of coronavirus new normal, we've created this awesome kind of full education program. We shot really high quality video, and then we also kind of use this, take advantage of Zoom and Microsoft to provide these kind of remote trainings, go in depth, and make sure that when the booth actually arrives, even though we can't come in person, we're able to ensure a great user experience. So, yeah, my name is David Friedman. Again, I'm the head of international business at GCCW. Thank you so much for listening to me today.
예, 감사합니다. 아주 훌륭한 장비로 생각이 드는데요. 여기에 대해서 토론을
smart
좀 듣도록
testing booth,
하겠습니다.
and
질문해 주시기
regarding
바랍니다.
this, we'll take some questions from the
질문
floor.
있습니까?
So, is there any questions to him?
Any question?
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, David, for the presentation. I'm Prayag Yadav from GCC, sitting in Munji campus with a panel of distinguished participants here from all across the world. So let me invite them for if they have questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Friedman, for your presentation. I'm Sherry, I'm from Nigeria. My question is, it's very impressive what GCCN has been able to do with the solution. Most especially, I like how they've been able to use to solve a very challenging problem with very simple solution. It's impressive, and I really like the fact that it will really help in developing nations to reach areas like regions that are very remote. My question is, how modular is this device? Is this tester boot? By modular, I mean how compact is it? And could you decouple it and transport it and take it to these areas and reassemble?
Sure. So I'm just going to make sure that I understood the question right. You were asking how mobile the booth is? Is that correct?
How modular is the device? Yeah, mobile.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, that's a great question. It's actually something that we got a lot while working on the Koika project, and we hear a lot out in the field. So the booths are built on caster wheels, and so if you do have a flat surface, it is quite mobile. The booth weighs about 250 kilograms, but again, if you're kind of on a smooth surface, it's not hard to move. And the booth is solidly made so that if you do have to load it in a truck or kind of ship it in some other way, it will be able to kind of handle the travel. And we haven't, in the field right now, again, like I mentioned, over 100 deliveries worldwide, and we haven't had any kind of problems in the delivery or the receipt of the product. Thank you so much for your question.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, dear panelists. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. My name is Ronnie from Ecuador, and I am curious about how it is possible to operate, because when you are presenting, the booth has some kind of operation, right? Like regulating temperature of the people who is inside of the booth. So I would like to know if it is possible to operate remotely the booth. For example, the environment that the person who is making the test is inside of the booth can be controlled remotely from a computer or a mobile application like setting up temperature on these kind of features.
So unfortunately, I didn't quite catch what the question was. I'm sorry, could you repeat it, please?
Yes, basically it is possible to control the operations of the booth remotely.
So that's another great question. The way that we designed the booth was to be manned by a person physically, and so while our R&D team is working on unmanned kind of solutions, right now what is out in the field right now, the product that we're actively selling is one that you need to actually physically get in to be able to conduct the testing. That's a great question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Helen?
네, 감사합니다. 첫 발표를 이걸로 마치도록 하겠습니다. Thank you. 자, 다음은 힐세리온 유정원 대표님 발표가 있으시겠습니다.
네, 안녕하세요.
Good afternoon, everyone.
좋은 자리에
It is my pleasure to be able to deliver my presentation today.
힐세리온의
I am the president of the Helserion.
2012년에
I think it was 2011 when I first established this company. At that time, I used to be the EM doctor. Then I saw the necessity of developing this the mobile UV the system. So we are still providing or supplying the mobile UV device. So this is what we call the mobile one, and this can be connected to the smartphone. Before we launched this product, we didn't have the mobile UV type. So this means that we are the pioneer. It's the first of its kind in the world. And we also have a Wi-Fi connection. And as you can see from these images, we can use it at the clinic or the community health care, as well as the public health office. That's where we call the primary health care. You can use our technology. Of course, definitely you also can use it in the ER to determine if the patient needs to have a surgery or the operation or not. And at the same time, we also need to prevent some of the possible diseases, and this also can be used for that purpose. And now the usage of our device was expanded to the sports medicine as well as the pain control or the physical therapy. So we see the increasing need on our device in the market. Today, I would like to focus my presentation on the POC, the ultrasound, especially efficacy of this mobile one. As you may well aware, in case of the COVID-19, of course we use a PCR or we use antigen as well as antibody for the testing. So that is very much important to confirm the case. But recently, now we are facing the second wave of the pandemic in Korea, and so now it's not that much meaningful to simply understand the number of the patients. Now we need to have a triage. Who has more severe symptom? Who has a more relatively moderate symptom? Because we have a limited capacity, such as a negative pressure room or the ventilator. So because we cannot afford supplying all of these equipment to all the patients, so we need to sort out. So I think the fatality is about 2 to 3%. So this means the rest of the patients, almost 90% of the patients, have a very, very mild symptom. Or sometimes, of course, those people who have underlying diseases are more vulnerable. And especially when they have a pulmonary disease, or like a pneumonia, or the ARDS, where it's acute response, the respiratory syndrome. So these people will face the fatality. So the best way to determine the lung disease is the CT. That's the gold standard, we know. But of course, we cannot actually give the CT testing for all the patients, because you also need to have a quarantine and you also need to evacuate the path. So this means it's not efficient at all. And as I said earlier, more than 90% of the patients simply have a mild symptom. Of course, some people may have a pneumonia, but they still remain asymptomatic. So this is the concern that we have. That is the reason why we need to have the device. Well, when we have a mobile device, then you wear the PPE and then you grab it and then you can use it directly to the patient, as you can see from this slide. So you wear it and you have a direct contact. So, well, this is the image of the lung ultrasound from the patient, the COVID-19 patient. And then it actually shows the pneumonia. And you can determine if the patient has the pneumonia or not. So that is really the best beauty of this device. And besides, this is wireless. And we normally call it as a packing, but well, we have a sterilized package, and you can wrap it with the sterilized one, and you wear the PPE, and you can actually go to each individual, the patient. So this also can be used as a kind of POC tool. Well, our device, I think it was last March, when there was a very serious widespread, even in Wuhan. And we also had a serious outbreak in Daegu, in the southern part of Korea. And recently, a lot of university hospitals, including Gil Hospital, also introduced this device for their patient. And recently, we also work together with the UN procurement and also World Bank for the procurement. So we were selected as the supplier of the portable or the mobile UV device. This slide shows the usage of our device. Of course, we have a healthcare professional, but we also can provide it more easily to the nurses or the physical therapists. That is the reason why we added the AI feature. We work together with the system biology lab from the Harvard University. So we would co-develop the further ones. So we had the project because we were chosen as this study partner. But this is our growth business plan. We will provide this mobile device, and we also utilize or leverage the AI so that people can use this mobile device anytime, anywhere. That is the mission, and because that is the one way to correct imbalance of the medical service. This will conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
그러면 지금부터 지금 들으신 발전
We will now have
내용에
a discussion based on the presentation. So first of all, I'd like to invite the participant from the floor, as well as the panelists, and also participants from online. So I'd like to ask any participant from the floor. Do you have any question? From the floor? Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ryu. And your product is a wonderful example of the new technology, digital technology, which is advancing so rapidly, disrupting technologies, and giving a very good solution in the healthcare industry. So may I ask our floor if you have any questions?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ryu. Thank you for the interesting presentation. I'm Jelly from Fiji. I'm currently a master's fellow under the IDTP program. This device is very useful for us developing countries, considering its portability in terms of size and demographics for our countries. So as digital technologies continue to advance and asymmetric competitors are beginning to disrupt the healthcare industries, one of the challenges is trust and interoperability amongst other devices. So how is Halcyon addressing this issue?
Hardly to catch your question, sorry. Please say again.
She wanted to understand, the Session1 device, how does it compatible with other medical devices? Like when we use Session1 ultrasound, how does it transfer to other medical equipment for the doctors to share the investigation?
네, 저기 다른 기기와의 호환성 문제를 지금 질문을 하고 계신데요. 요 기기하고 다른 지금 의료 메디컬 시스템의 기기하고는 어떤 호환을 통해서 할 수 있습니까?
Compatible means that could you mean share the
Information.
Ultrasound image to other device or post to that PACS system?
Yes.
Because we support that PACS, it means DICOM formation. You can upload our image to hospital server, or you can easily share your image to other physicians, like using SNS or email, anything, any format you can use. And then also we provide a standard protocol like DICOM format. It's exactly the same with other ultrasound device.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you.
Welcome.
I have a question too. Thank you very much, Mr. Rio, for your presentation. I'm Sharif again from Nigeria. I agree with Jelly. The portability of device really makes it useful in places in developing countries. But my question is just like Mr. Friedman, the GCCN has an arrangement with COICA to be able to help developing nations to be able to get this technology. So do you have such arrangement to be able to, because you know finance is a huge problem in the developing world. So do you have such arrangements with bodies to be able to help developing nations procure this device?
네, 지금
You mean that how we provide our sonon to developing country, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Like a COICA program?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
We were the first company selected by COICA 2015, 2015, we selected COICA CTS first program. Then we provided our ultrasound to Vietnam, that's some kind of remote area that is not the Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh. It's some, some poor hospital area. And 2017, we also selected the UNOPS. We provided our ultrasound to Ghana, 17 community healthcare center for diagnosing pregnant women. And also we still try to applying many ODA program like COICA, UN, even World Bank. This I already told you that the World Bank also same ODA program. Then more than 20 countries will ask us our ultrasound to provide each country, each government to provide for diagnosing COVID-19 patients. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
예, 땡큐. 예, 감사합니다. 예, 수고하셨습니다. 다음은 플라즈마 맵의 임유봉 대표님 발표가 있겠습니다.
To the podium next presenter, Mr. Im Nyu-bong from PlasMap.
안녕하십니까. 플라즈맵
Good
임유봉입니다.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Im
발표
Nyu-bong from
드리겠습니다.
PlasMap. So let me start my presentation. I work for the company PlasMap. So PlasMap is short for Smart. Starting link. We are also making Starlink, and PlasMap actually started as a startup in the beginning. And as you see, actually we are exporting our products including the Starlink to more than 60 countries. And recently, with the issue of COVID-19, we received the additional budget. Starting the second half of this year, we are starting a new MCM project, mobile clinic related project. But as mentioned by other speakers, there are many diagnostic kits. However, we need the PPE or protective clothing, but those PPE and protective clothing needs to be sterilized for safe management. And I am engaging in such a sterilization project. And as you see here, Starlink Home or Starlink Pro have been developed by us. And at the end of this year, new versions of products will be available. And we will be also able to apply the new products to new facilities. And first of all, I'd like to introduce about my company. And so far, we received an investment of 26 billion won. Based on the financial assistance, we have been working on R&D, and we have many patents here in Korea and also around the world. And we could develop distinguished technologies, and thanks to that, we are exporting to more than 60 countries. And this is about our business model. And initially, we began to sell sterilizers, and the sterilizers is about consumables, but over the last 2 years, we are increasing in our sales by 4 times. So this indicates that our product is really distinguished from other kinds of sterilizers. And when it comes to sterilization, what matters most is to guarantee safety not only for patients, but also for medical staff. And also the next big item is the economic benefits. Of course, and also we need to think about the convenience and the comfortability felt by users. And also we need to think about the space efficiency related to sterilizers. So the reason why we're selling a lot of products to different markets is that we have advantages in these areas. And we have an R&D team, of course, and we have 5 KAIST PhDs in our R&D center. And this is the performance of development at our company. And so far, we focused on the research development. And based on that, we released the new products. And we are making entries into different markets. And today, of course, my topic is sterilizer, but I'd like to say that we are running 2 businesses. So plasma sterilizer, one, and the second one is that plasma surface treatment agent. And when you take a look at the screen, this is the product line that we have. We have a sterilization pouch, and for the operation of the pouch, we have sterilizers. What I want to emphasize is that for each of the product, we have a patent, and we are in the process of gaining IP for overseas markets. And this is the plasma manufacturing status. And we have facilities in Ulsan and other places. And we have a business sales entity in Seoul. What I want to put an emphasis on is that, of course, we need to have quality products. Inside Korea, we have a GMP the standards, and for Northern Europe, there is the standards called MDSP. So MDSP is a single unit based, and we received all the certifications here in Korea and in other countries. So this indicates that how much we are very much focused on having good quality products. I'd like to brief you on the sterilizer market. So sterilization started from boiling water a long time ago, but for example, there are different kinds of people. Some people actually, they think that sterilization was done after 1 minute or after 3 minutes. So that's why, in order to resolve these differences, we have produced new way of sterilization. So this is taking advantage of high pressure and high temperature. And high temperatures and high pressures are doing harm to medical devices. And with the advancement of medical equipment, sterilization became even more important than before. And please take a look at the screen. There is a 255 Celsius degrees. However, as you see here, this requires 10 hours of sterilization. So that required other solutions. So Johnson & Johnson, of course, they did the sterilization project, and they studied the business concerning that. And the initial product required more than 500 hours of sterilizations. So they had a good product. However, the product was very pricey, so that was used only by big hospitals back then. So our solution is quite affordable, and also we are showing efficiency in terms of space usage. So we have a good quality product. So we came up with Starlink. So one of the distinguished features of our product is that we are starting from pouch. The Stella package was made just based on our own way, and for the first time in the world, non-infiltrated film was used. And within 7 minutes, sterilization became possible. And we have also Starlink. So under Starlink, we have 3 different models. And we are exporting these products to 60 different countries. And the exportation was possible thanks to the certification that we received from different countries. We received the approval from KFDA and other health authorities. So the sterilizers is part of the medical service industry. However, but we are taking the lead in this market, and we want to take the lead in this market. So one by one, in this way, we could enter different nations. And at the end of this year, we will be able to receive the approval from the US FDA, and eventually we will meet the expectations of global users. When it comes to our business, what mattered most was the approval from the FDA. So plasma sterilizer is categorized with MLR code by the FDA, and there are 4 companies that received this code from the FDA, and we are the 5th. And the first one in the top is not working at the moment. So that means that there are 3 companies available in the market. So there is a commonality between 3 companies. First commonality is that all of them are American companies, and all of the sterilizers are huge scale, so 10 liter and 1,000 liter grade. So only the big hospitals can use these sterilizers. But we have advantages because our the capacity is small and the size is small, so we will be able to our products can be used better and in many places. And these are the global partners on the screen, as you see. So small and medium-sized partners and the big-sized company partners are working with us. And this is about the trend of our sales. Based on plasma technology, we are improving issues related to each market. And eventually, we want to bring up the level of healthcare of Korea for the global market. And the sterilizer market is not just about quality. Of course, quality is really important, but how economical it is also a critical element. So by developing different kinds of technologies, we are exporting we are exporting our products to many countries. Thank you for your attention. So are there any questions from the floor, or are there questions from participants?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Lim. I'm M. Francis from ITTP from Sierra Leone. My question is, it's remarkable the progress which plasma has made in the past 6 years, being able to compete in the plasma sterilizer market. And the sterile line of products, I noticed the capacity is quite small with regards to the other competitors in the market. I just wanted to know if this is a specific strategy by plasma to enter into the market share for small line of plasma sterilizers.
Yeah.
So you have some questions? Thank you for your question. Actually, in sterilizer market, there are many key players in terms of the method of sterilization. First of all, low temperature and high temperature. Many different approaches is available in this market. Anyway, the key player in the low temperature plasma sterilizer market is Johnson & Johnson. Their market share is about 70%, about 68 to 80%, very high. And so because they are the big hospitals focusing on the reliability and how many units are installed and used, and so the doctor should know this machine is very reliable. So the next one is the economic feature. So in that sense, Plasmab is a startup company, so it's a very new product, cannot go into that market. So that's why we approach the small clinics first, and then finally we need to address the big hospital market. But at this moment we are focusing on the small specialty clinics such as dental and ophthalmology and the veterinary clinics now.
Thank you. Yeah, I could question. Hello, good afternoon. This is Roger Royo from Spain. And I want to ask you if it's possible to convert these plasma sterilizers to a IoT or smart device that can monitor its usage and allow tracking the device and in any place, for example, of the world.
It's a very good question. All our Starlink products are connected to the internet, and all the data is monitored by our server. We call this system ITS, Instrument Tracking System. Actually, the medical device requires the qualification of three steps of qualification. First one is installation qualification. The second, operational, and the final thing is performance qualification. Actually, we monitored all the key parameters related with the operational performance qualification. So based on this data, we provided some report to the clinics in order they can protect their procedure of how the sterilization is processed in their clinics.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
예, 감사합니다. 이걸로 발표를 마치도록
Thank you,
하겠습니다.
and that's the end of the
자,
presentation.
감사합니다. 다음은 K바이오 인텍메디의 이성락 부장님 발표가 있으시겠습니다.
So I'd like to invite the next speaker from K-Bio, Mr. Seung-Lak Lee.
안녕하십니까. 오성첨단의사진진단의 이승락입니다. 오늘 본 발표 초대해 주신 최초에 큰 감사를 드리며요. 본 발표 주제인 Patient Health Care Monitoring and Tracking System에 대해서 말씀드리겠습니다.
So this is the introduction about myself, and I got the PhD from the Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology, and I also developed the semiconductor development in the LG Electronics, and then I moved to Osong Medical Innovation Foundation. So I'd like to introduce my foundation, which is Osong Medical Innovation Foundation. This is to nurture high-tech medical industry by spreading the fruition of the research activation and the commercialization. So we have 4 centers here: New Drug Development Center, Medical Device Development Center, and the Lab Animal Center and Biopharmaceutical Manufacturing Center. The center I am in is a one-stop service. This is called the Medical Device Development Center. So we do the R&D and the production of the trial or pilot device, and then we also do the evaluation of the trial device. So we focus on the hardware as well as the software, and we also provide the support. And we have 3 different areas, and then the first one is the development, and number 2 is the production. We support for precision and the material, so we can actually conduct all these different areas in one place. That's why we call it one-stop service. Now let me move on to the next page. This is the outline of my presentation. The first one is introduction, and the next is healthcare monitoring tracking system, and next is a future plan. This shows the biosignal in human being. A biosignal is any signal in human being that can be continuously measured and monitored. So we have EEG, EOG, and ECG. This is for the heart. And then we also have EMG, GSR, blood pressure, PPG, voice, as well as images. And along with that, we also have other devices for the biosignal measurement. So we have a headgear type, and we also have a wearable type, just like glasses. So we also have ECG with a patch type, and we also have a band type of the EMG, and the headgear type of the EEG. And we already got the license for the manufacturing. I'd like to talk a little bit about the wearable device, where we see the evolving trend in the wearable devices. So we have a handband, the band type, and we also have a soft lens type, like attachable device, portable device, and in the future we will have an implantable device as well as ingestible device in the future. Well, along with the wearable device development, we also see the advancement of the ICT. So as you can see, the digital healthcare service is utilizing the ICT, and it is combined together with the wearable devices. So ICT also can encompass IT and the communication, meaning software, communication, as well as the data. So it will become very much extensive, and we will put these technologies into the wearable devices. Now I'd like to talk about the healthcare monitoring and tracking system, which will be the key part of my presentation. So we see the more increasing cases or confirmed cases. So I know that all the countries are trying very hard to the development of the vaccine, but at the same time, they also show the interest on the untapped healthcare monitoring system. In Korea, I know recently one of the local company also developed this untapped healthcare monitoring system. And at the same time, the ETRI, which is the government-funded research institute, also came up with the development of ECG and then the pulse temperature measurement the system, so that they can have a better monitoring of the patient. We also made a development of this system, which is called the healthcare monitoring and the tracking system. Well, we developed this one because we want to have a better monitoring, especially for those people who are in the self-isolation or in the self-quarantine condition. The platform has a wearable device as well as healthcare system. So if from the wearable device we can get the temperature and the SpO2 heart rate and the BP and ECG, etc. And from the healthcare service system, we can get the patient monitoring as well as the tracking. This is about the this is the healthcare monitoring and the tracking system. And of course, we have a hardware as well as a soft part for the wearable devices. We also combined the main board and then the gateway. So we also increase the accuracy, especially in the software. Please take a look at the left-hand side. This is the prototype design. And then the right-hand side is the actual product. So you can actually check the BP, SpO2, ECG, and the BPM, and the work as well. This is about the gateway, where we actually chose this one, which is dedicated for this one. Of course, you can use Wi-Fi as well as a Bluetooth. And in this case, you may have some issue in the coverage. That's why we use LoRa. And sometimes the gateway can cover everything, but you need to pay a lot. So we decided to finally choose LoRa. Please take a look at the left-hand side. We actually connected this one. This is the gateway communication method. So you can use the wearable device, and you also can send the data coming from the wearable devices. This is the administration page that we developed, where we have a user dashboard and user dashboard. So you can see all the users. So this is a list of all the users. And at the same time, you also can have a daily monitoring, and you also can collect the statistical data at the same time. But this is the main page. And if you click the name, then you have more details for each related patient. And you also can see the status, the current status of the patient. And you also can check the day as well as the time of the day. This is the dashboard. So this is administrator dashboard. You see the entire list, and you also can see the battery life and when you need to replace the battery and all other information. And then this is the management, the control for the wearable devices. So you also can see the components as well as composition. This shows the docking station status, because depending on the location or the path of the patient, sometimes you even can detect the location of the patient. If the patient is actually away, further away from the permitted place. So you also can check the tracking as well. I mentioned about the 3 features here. And last December until the February of this year, we actually had the pilot test at the elderly the care center for about 3 months. This is about the GPS. We check the location. You see some photo here. Well, these elderly people are wearing this wearable device, and you also can check their health condition. We also developed the other devices, the programs, and other developments are underway. This is more improved the GPS, and you also can have more improved the temperature the setting. But I mentioned about the LoRa communication method. We also can use other communication the method. We are using polymer battery that is more flexible. So this is one way, again, to extend the battery life. So this is our future plan. For the next 6 months, we will have a pilot program in the public health office in the Chungbuk province. When this is completed, then we will have internal review, and we also have a internal subsidiary. So we have Intech Medi and the K-Biostart, and they will they'll be in charge of the production and the sales as well. I have talked about the wearable devices and the future evolving trend. So I think this also can be applied to the other areas like a smart city, connect car, smart home as well. This will conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I do hope that we could have a chance to work together for this project. Thank you very much. So again, I'd like to invite any of the participants for the question. to Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee.
Which capable of monitoring so many features, healthcare features.
May I ask our panel to ask any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee, for the presentation. I'm Sharif from Nigeria. My question is, in this era that we are, a lot of emphasis is being placed on personal identifiable data. There are some standards, there's the EPA standards, there's the ISO standards, and what is permissible across countries sometimes usually differs. How is your company trying to address this challenge?
That's a good question. We are trying to progress the individual identification using the HL7 protocol. This is I think this is maybe the internal identification the protocol. So we try this kind of the protocol. But now we don't have any idea about this. Now just we're trying. So after maybe 6 months after, we are adapted this protocol to internal protocol, and then we are give us any country about that.
Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Lee, for the presentation. So I have, my name is Eko from Indonesia. So I have 2 questions. First is, what happens if the patient take off the band and use for monitoring? Can the system alert about this event? And then for the second is, if we want to install it to our countries, can the platform of the system install locally in our countries or not? Or it only can be accessed by the cloud system? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. The first question is my answer is maybe the headband there is not on my body. It's impossible to load the location and the healthcare monitoring. And maybe somebody the impacted person, they don't want the healthcare band, the location, or we are just tell them just healthcare monitoring only. But they are just want a location, the finding like that. So we after they just can I say close the signal at our body to the band. We just alarm the emergency alarm to the public center. So we are call them on phone. Please again attach the band. First question is like that. The second is is possible to meet your country, any country, using any kind of the communication system. So we are the local and the cloud are possible, all of them.
Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
예, 감사합니다. 이걸로 발표를 마치시겠습니다. 예, 감사합니다. 지금 들으신 것처럼 4분의 한국의 K 방역에 관련되는 솔루션, 산업체 솔루션에 대해서 좋은 강연을 들었습니다. 여기 참여하신 외국 분들 포함해서 같이 이렇게 협력 방안을 같이 논의할 수 있으면 좋겠습니다. 한국은 들으신 것처럼 특히 바이오 헬스에 국가적으로 굉장히 큰 이 헌신을 노력을 하고 있고요. 그래서 정부가 3조 이상의 돈과 또 민간에서 또한 역시 한 2, 3조의 돈이 들어가면서 산업이 급격히 커지고 있고 많은 학습 역량과 연구 역량, 산업 역량이 지금 갖춰지고 있습니다. 그래서 이런 좋은 역량들이 같이 글로벌로 코어가 돼서 서로가 윈윈할 수 있는 그런 시스템이 되기를 바랍니다. 이상으로 K방역 산업 솔루션 발표와 토론을 모두 마치도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.